Hello and welcome to the Slackware ARM vlog. I'm Stuart Winter, the platform architect and developer for Slackware on the ARM platform. And in this vlog, it's really about, really kind of whatever comes to mind with regards to the development of Slackware on the ARM platform and maybe some other tangential related Slackware stuff as well. Really whatever comes to mind that I fancy telling you about. Now, in this particular episode, I'm going to show you the work in progress for booting the Slackware installer, or the Slackware AArch64 installer on the MacBook M2 using the native virtualization of the Apple M2. Because I've been wanting to do this for a while and I couldn't get the kernel booted, and then I realized it's because I hadn't compiled a bunch of the support into the kernel, and then I stopped and got busy with other things. If we have a look at the forum here, some of you guys were talking about booting Slackware AArch64 on the MacBook Pro, which is an ARM64 machine. And some of you guys have already made headway with that in the past and shared your ideas there. I've had a look at what's been going on, and I've upgraded to Linux 6.13, and into the kernel I've added a bunch of virtualization support, which was just missing in the 6.12 kernel. I should say I hadn't configured it in the 6.12 kernel. So I've taken the 6.13 kernel. I thought I might as well go with the latest stable release and then just add the support in there and build it. So let me show you what I've done. This is not complete at all, but let me show you what I've done. So to begin with, if you perhaps see the previous episode of the Slackware ARM vlog, if we bring up this here. So in this episode of the vlog, I covered the kernel module loading process. So really, how do we load the correct kernel modules or drivers to light up the base hardware, like the storage and Ethernet and display and serial and other things. What modules do we need to load in order to light up that hardware enough so that we can access the storage on which the Slackware OS proper lives and pivot into that and then boot Slackware out of the initial RAM disk. So I talked you through how to do that. I didn't cover the boot process because that's unique really to every device. Well, not entirely unique, but there's lots of nuances for different devices. But I did cover how the kernel module loader process works. So you can watch that video if you're interested. Now, what I've done here, so as I said, we're still running Linux 6.12 in Slackware AArch64 right now in March 2025. We'll get to 6.13 at some point, or maybe we'll even skip it and move straight to 6.14. I don't know. But what I've done is I have upgraded to Linux 6.13 in this directory here, kernel whip, which means work in progress. And there are a couple of different virtualization scripts, virtualization module loading scripts for QEMU and KVM. And so they did actually the same thing. They loaded one module. So I just conflated them into a single script that supports Apple Silicon, KVM, and QEMU. And I forgot to write QEMU. So let's do that now. I do like to keep the documentation and the notes up to date. There we go. Okay, so this is quite straightforward. We're matching on the hardware model type, so QEMU, KVM, and Apple Virtualization, and then we're setting a bunch of different modules. So with the virtualization, in the most part, the modules are called virt.io. So I basically just looked at the kernel. I'll show you. I can show you what I did actually. Where is it? No, not there. Sources. If I do source src update n, and this will extract the Linux kernel source to the RAM disk. Well, it will on this machine anyway because I've got tons of RAM, and it's fast to do that. So it does that and applies any patches, which we don't currently carry any patches. Hopefully we won't need to in the future. We did do in ARM32, and when I first bootstrapped Slackware to ARM64 or AArch64, we had a bunch of different patches for the Rock Pro 64 and some other ones, but we don't need those anymore. So we don't currently carry any patches. This is the Virgin upstream kernel. So if we go here into here, and then we do, what's the directory called? SRC, yeah, Linux. Okay, so from here you can do make menu config. So what I've done is I've just run make menu config. I've gone through each of the I've selected all of the virt IO. I think pretty much every virt IO configuration option, and then resave the config. So basically, if you look here, virt io.config, I've selected almost all of them. So yeah, any that weren't set, like this one, I went and set it, and then I well, not all of them obviously, because you can see some of them I haven't, but that's because I read the config help and realised I didn't want it. But other than that, I've taken pretty much everything, and then I've all I did was just discover what the module file names were called, and then added those into the kernel module script, the kernel module loader script I just showed you, so that we load everything relevant for the virtualization platform. Right, then what I did was, I should have done a pushd. Did I do a pushd? No, AC source case whip. So then what I did is, there's a script here called build test kernels, which I'm not going to walk you through that, but that where did it go? There. That builds the kernels in the Slackware installer out of tree. It's really just for me. It is in the source tree. You can use it as well, but it's really for me so that it doesn't delete or replace the Slackware packages in the main tree, because that's the last thing I want to do when I haven't tested them. That's how it used to be years ago until I changed it. So I've got this script here, and it just drops them into /tmp/slk something or other test builds, and drops them in there. Now, what I had to do is, I think I've moved it already actually. If you go to put, it'll make you, if you ever use this script, it'll make you all this directory structure, and then you go into bootware, and then installer, and then that, and then that. I think I've already moved it. It creates you these disk images. So these are XZ compressed disk images. That's how we present the Slackware AArch64 installer. You DD it to a disk image and you boot it off the SD card. Now, there was a honeycomb one in here, but I've moved it to /tmp somewhere, honeycomb, like that, right? And I've also, as you can see here, it's 3.8 gigs now because I've uncompressed it. We publish them compressed with XZ, or with LZMA compression, but I've had to unpack it. The reason I've unpacked it is because UTM on the Mac, it doesn't support compressed images, so they have to be uncompressed. So I just uncompressed it on one of the Slackware boxes, well actually on this machine, and then I've copied it to my Mac because I don't have XZ utils on the Mac, at least, well I don't anyway. So I did it there. I did it on the Honeycomb LX2 build machine. So, with me so far? This is the MacBook I've got. It's a MacBook Pro from 2023. It's an Apple M2. It's got 16 gigs of RAM and runs macOS 14.7. It is not actually my machine. It's my work machine. I did not buy a Mac. I'm not sure, to be honest, I'm not really sure I would. Not because I don't like them, but because I think for the price point, they're incredibly expensive. So I've loaded up UTM. I've got version 4.6.4, which I downloaded yesterday. And what we're going to do, if we're just going to click on create virtual machine, we'll click on virtualize, not emulate. I don't want to emulate. There's no need to emulate because I'm running an ARM64 Mac machine. So click on Linux and I click on use Apple Virtualization. I click on boot ISO image. So this is actually the Honeycomb LX2 Slackware installer image that's uncompressed. Okay. So click on open, click on continue. I'll give it 8 gigs of RAM, not 4. I don't know how many CPU cores there are by default. I guess we'll figure that out. I can always change it, I think. I don't need a 64 gig drive. Let's go for 30. No, should do, yeah. Continue, don't care about shared directories. Let's call this Slackware AArch64 installer. Now I'm going to call this the installer because I think As I said up front, this is a work in progress. I've literally just spent the last 3 hours hacking on this. So I've got it to a stage where I can boot the Slackware installer, but I think once you've installed, I'll have to create a new entry to boot it, because you can't change the settings. I'll show you what I mean afterwards, but it's okay. We're not there yet. So we'll call it the Slackware 64, rather AArch64 installer. Click save, and yeah, that's it. Right, so we click play, and here we go. There's GRUB. So now, this GRUB configuration is from the Honeycomb LX2. Brent did all of that work for us. Really good job on that. I was actually thinking, because I looked at how Ubuntu have presented theirs and Fedora, and they do provide you an ISO image. And I thought, oh, okay, I need to go and build an ISO image. And then it suddenly occurred to me, I thought, what if I just tried booting the Honeycomb LX2 installer image, and hey presto, it works fine. So I don't need to build an ISO image. In fact, as I said, I've only just done this morning, but eventually, once I've got some more time and I've hacked on it a bit more, I'll provide an Apple Virtualization. Actually, I guess maybe not just Apple, but I'll just provide a virtualization image that you can boot. You can download and boot it. So it'll be the same as the Honeycomb LX2, but it has the configuration changed. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So if I press E on here and I'm going to delete some of this stuff and change a few things. So all this IMO, blah, 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 all of these parameters are for the Honeycomb LX2, so we can leave those. And if I need to change the console. If I bring that, so this is the UTM documentation, so it needs to say console equals HVC0. Oh, does it actually really need to do that? Let me try it without it actually. So press Control and X like that. We'll see what happens. If it doesn't work properly, I'll boot. Ah, yes, okay. You might think, wow, that's amazing. It is amazing, but you know, you'll see what happens in a moment, because what's going on here is that we have the serial. Do you see where it says press enter to activate this serial console? Oh, it says to activate this console. What's happening here is that we're looking at the serial output and the graphics output combined. So if I press enter, we get a console, but we can press one key at a time. So if you try TTY, oh look, T not. So I don't exactly know why it's doing this, to be honest. The other distribution, when I booted Ubuntu earlier, it doesn't have this problem. There's no special configuration that it has, at least in the kernel command line. Maybe it does in the kernel config, I don't know. But of course we don't have a problem, because if I'm just going to power this off, let's shut this down. That's fine. It's only the installer. Let's close that. So if I click on, oh, actually I don't need to, I can just run it again. So if I go back to here, take all this stuff out again. Let's get rid of this here. And replace console equals TTY1 with, what does it say? HVC0, yeah. So HVC0 and then do, oops, yeah, boot it. So now all of the initial boot message will be dumped to the serial console. I don't have the serial console. If you use QEMU option here, you do get the option to, it does provide you with a terminal, with a serial terminal, but it doesn't for native virtualization. According to the docs, which are here somewhere, that's why, because it's QEMU backend. Okay, that's why it doesn't work. So I did try doing this earlier, but I didn't read the piece at the top which says it's for QEMU. Yeah, so yeah, I did try that. It doesn't work, but that's because it's for QEMU, not for native. Okay, anyway, it doesn't matter. At the moment, we're just losing the boot messages, so it's fine. Not too worried about that at the moment. I would like them. Eventually, we can figure it out. If someone wants to play around with it, they can tell me. But here we go. There we go. TTY, and this TTY1 is the Linux Virtual Console. I did all of this work when I originally ported it to ARM64, so you can have the separation of serial access versus console access. So we can support the Slackware installer on both. So this is why it just works out of the box. Just going to check there's nothing. The command line should be what I set, right? Yeah, cool. Yeah, anyway, we can figure that out later if we need to. So we've already got Ethernet, as you can see, and we've got SDA is the ISO image or disk image with the installer on it. If we had the Slackware all-in-one installer, then we'd have all of the, which is how I think I'd eventually present it actually. We'll see maybe. Well, it would be the same as all of the others. The Raspberry Pi, Rock Pro 64, Honeycomb LX2. We provide a big fat 12 gig disk image that has a bootable disk image that has all of the Slackware packages on it, so you can install completely offline. Yeah, basically the same as booting a DVD and installing it off that. So maybe I'll do that eventually. But anyway, the SDA is for the is the Slackware installer. The VDA is 30 gigs, and that's the, let's call it the block storage, or let's call it the hard disk for old time's sake. So I don't actually, if we run SLK HWM Discover, which is the Slackware ARM hardware model discovery tool, you can see we're called Apple Virtualization generic platform. If we do lsmod, we should have a whole bunch of Virtuo image kernel modules, which we do. You can see them all listed there. So now the thing is that we know that this won't properly install because I haven't actually, do we have a virtual? Oh, I love it. Yeah, we do. Look at that. Oh, that's so good. Why is it not called Slackware though? I wonder why. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Early days. I don't know how far this we can go. I know it's not going to fully work. We might be able to install. We should be able to actually. So I'm looking at the Honeycomb LX2 install guide because I just want to create an EFI partition. Okay, so let's give this a go. This is fun. Like this is good. I'm having a good time with this. Tell you. Let me get that out of the way. Right. So yeah. Can I just resize the window? I think you can, can't you? You can also make it go full screen as well, but I won't do that because then I can't see the. Oh, I suppose I could just move that off the screen so you don't get to see it. But okay, let's make that a bit bigger. Okay, so fdisk VDA. What do I do now? G to make a GPT disk label, and then I do N1 plus that'll do, yeah, plus 100M. Change the type to UEFI. I said I've no idea if this is actually going to work. What are we doing? This is for the swap partition, right? Yeah. So make a swap partition. Plus 8 gig, whatever. It's fine. Type to 82. Swap. Oh, what? When did code 82 change from being Linux swap to Linux root verified S03E45? What's going on with that? What? Okay, I'm just going to type in swap. Okay, Linux swap. What? I need to look at that. That's bizarre. Hold on a minute. What is going on? It's always been 82. Ever since I was a baby. Huh? Is this like a different version of... Whatever, I'll get over it. Okay, I'll just type swap from now on. So then I want to do N... oh, did I... No, didn't make a mistake. P, N, yeah. And then Right, PA3. Oops. No, I'll be fine. I meant to make this mark it as bootable, but actually I don't think it makes any difference on ARM anyway. In fact, it doesn't make any difference. Right, so I've written a partition table. -L should be up here. Yeah, cool. Right, next, what's next? Great. So then we look at the setup. Let's run setup. Add swap. VDA, cool. No. 22 gigs, sounds good. I'm not even sure that's enough space. Is it enough? Yeah, it should be just enough. X2, X4 rather. So, okay, yeah, I'd love to. Let's format it. Sounds good. Right, and then we need, yeah, we do have networking already. So press devel on Slackware AArch64 current / Slackware. Okay. I haven't actually booted Linux 6.13 before. This is the first time I'm booting it in a virtualized environment. I don't see why it wouldn't work there, because we've got networking. Oh, unless it doesn't have a resolve.conf. I think I'll have to wait for that to time out. Oh, it's trying to do RPC. Restart. Okay. Yeah, I'm not too concerned that it doesn't. It should time out at some point. Anyway, while that's busy doing that, so one of the reasons why it won't work, at least it shouldn't work, is because somewhere in here, this is in the installer, by the way. In the installer, we have asset, we have helpers, yeah, 000 grub. Now this is one of the scripts that Brent has written for us, and although that's, maybe it will work. So this script here is run post installation within the installer though, and it's contained within the installer. Ah, there we go. Yeah. So this looks for solid run. Oh, okay, yeah. So it looks for 2 actually. So it's, oh, Brent, what have you done? You've added this. Oh, cool. Brent did. Oh, I forgot. I didn't even realise that he'd done this. So. Okay, so this script here, you can see where it's matching on KVM, virtual machine, and QEMU. I haven't got GPM, the mouse driver, working in the kernel, in the installer. But you can see kind of around there, it says, oh, I could just highlight it, couldn't I? So, yeah, you can see there, it's matching on KVM, virtual machine, and QEMU, and then it's setting a few parameters. And then further down, it configures GRUB and adjusts the GRUB config accordingly. So I would have to add in Apple Virtualization in here and then change the console where it says conf console to equals TTY1, change it to HVC 0. But I can do that. I'll do that another time. And there should be some other stuff. Oh yeah, there we go. So and you've got the command line. You've got the you see where it says conf command kernel command line there. That stuff's for the Honeycomb LX2. It kind of doesn't work very well if you don't have that. So yeah, cool. Okay, so that's something I'd have to do later. Now, oh, this is still doing that, is it? Okay, that's not worked. Let's do this again. I tell you what, actually. Mount /q mount -o no lock 1 2 3 1 kernel /devel /q perfect. Right, so let's just do. We've already got. It should have all of that set up, so we can just do. Hopefully, we can just do this pre-mounted directory. Slackware AArch64 current /Slackware. Try that. Oh, because I have to go and do that again, do I? This is one of the things about the Slackware. Yeah, it's one of the things about the Slackware installer. Okay, let's reboot this. Well, what happens when you reboot actually? Does it? I'm gonna. Let's just change that again to console. I don't need to consult the documentation this time. HVC 0. Oh no, that's not. I got it wrong, didn't I? I think it is actually. That isn't it. It should be. Oh no, no, it is it. It is it. It is it. Good, good, good. Okay. Yeah, I'm a bit puzzled by that. I've got to say, I'm a little bit puzzled. Okay, I'm just going to do this. /q mount -o no lock 192.168.1.1 /devel /armed /q. Right. Slackware AArch. Okay. Right, setup. Okay, so add swap. Cool, let's try this again. It makes me wonder now, I need to test the Slackware installer on 6.13 because I haven't done that. But I've never had a problem with the Slackware installer. I mean, there's occasionally that some of the utilities change, the command lines change, or the behavior changes, but usually not. So there's obviously something a bit weird, but that's okay. Okay, so let me do, so pre-mounted directory /q slackware. So q slackware AArch64 current /slackware. Full. Okay. My God, that's fast, isn't it? Look at that. I've never seen Slackware and ARM install this quickly before. Okay, now, while that's busy, so we're here, we just press Alt and right, or Alt and one of the arrow keys, type bricktick, and we can play. This is what we can do. So this is a bricktick game that I added into the Slackware installer, and this, Patrick added this to the x86 installer as well. Actually, I was surprised he added that in, but he did. So you can play this on x86 as well while you're installing Slackware, to remind you of the old days of the 1980s. It's gone incredibly slow for some reason. Okay, and you can just flick them back and forth just to make the game a little bit more difficult, a little bit more challenging. You can flick back and forth between the installer and the game. I used to play this a lot on, it was called Breakout on the BBC. It was programmed in BASIC. I took it from one of the, in the old days when they would print out, you'd have the computer magazines with the source code, and you typed out the source code quite rather laboriously, I must say. And you type out the source code. You didn't even have a basic, like there was no like an editor. You just typed it into the command, into the basic. You just type auto, and then press it every time you press enter. It would increase the line number. So you type in all the source code. And one of the programs was called Breakout. And it was essentially the same as this, actually. I love that game. Oh, let me do. Oh, damn, missed it. How's the installer going? Okay. As I said before, I'm impressed at the speed of the. Oh, I missed the power up. I'm impressed at the speed of the installation there. So, okay. Oh damn. So KDE is installing. Yeah. What was the? Yeah, it's made me wonder now about whether there are any issues with it. You know, actually, do you know what? I wonder. Do you know what? I wonder. Can I? Oh, no, because then I'd have to change the. Oh, well, have you got GPM? No. Well, yeah, we do, but it doesn't work. Okay. So if I go to hardware model configure platform installer, so what I'm going to have to do later as part of the installer development work is, if you see this template here, so this is the GRUB template, and oh yeah, so I won't have to change the template actually, so that's fine. Well, will I? Headed one. Well, okay, it doesn't matter for the time being. But what I will have to do is change the helper script though. So if I look at this one, 0 grub install. So I'd have to. Okay, so if I do grub install, and then so I could just match on. If I match on this, like this, right, and then basically take this out. What did I call it? P. Oh yeah, that's it. So take that out like that, right? And then change, so that would be HVC0, I think. Let me double check that. Yeah, HVC0. We're not using, we can rename, we're not using device tree on here. Virtualization doesn't use device tree. Okay, cool. None for Apple. Okay, go to that space. So that's should automatically configure GRUB correctly, or at least it will. Yeah, it will actually. And then I don't know whether that. Well, I don't know. It needs to be done anyway. That part needs to be done. So cool. And then, so I'm just going to copy that 001. Oh, sorry, 0/Q. Cool. And then what I'm going to do here, source kwhip sources, no, not sources. Lost my, where am I? Oh, it's the installer. Source installer. Where does it live? ARM. ARC installer helper. Oh, there we go. Yeah. /devel/. Ooh, hold on a minute. Where did I put it? Where did I put it? Oh yeah, that's why. So okay, there we go. So yeah, diff-u grub, and then so those are the changes that I've made. So I've just copied this, the new version. I've edited it directly within the installer and copied it to the NFS mount, and I'm going to move it into the source tree. So here's the changes that I've just added. I'm sure that won't be the last thing I have to do, but there we go. So I'll just dump that from the GRUB configure. There we go. I can delete that from there. There we go. And then you've got, here it is. Cool. Oh, by the way, in case you're wondering why I use cat, it's just that I didn't have to chmod 755 the file again, because this one didn't. Oh, probably didn't anyway. No, I didn't check it, to be honest. But anyway, that's why I did that, just to preserve the file permissions, or the executable bit rather. Right. So we're back in the installer. Move ourselves out of there. Almost there. Finish off this game. Come on. So where's the hardest bit? When there's very little, when there are very few blocks remaining, because then you have to kind of really just kind of bide your time really and hope that you can get the angles. What about, what? Oh, damn. Well, anyway, we're almost, there we go. Almost done. Okay, so USB connected mouse. Yes, we will. Yeah, we will. We'll call it Apple on.slackware.com. Very imaginative today. No network manager. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Blah 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 blah. Not really, because actually, what screen from? No, well, no, because it looks good as it is. So, and then we'll just set Londinium. Not there, but set it anyway. Vim, that'll do. KDE, yeah, whatever. I'm not going to use that at the moment. So set the password and what? Come on. Too fast. Typing too fast. Right. Exit. Okay. So what I'm going to do is just drop to a shell, and just because I want to see what's happened. So if I go to /munt/boot. What do we have in the GRUB directory? No, grub.com. Actually, I didn't see whether GRUB actually installed. Did it install? Didn't even look, to be honest. I guess it did, yeah. So there, you can see it's been configured correctly. Yeah. Got the root. Oh, no, hold on. No, it hasn't, because it hasn't. Oh, yes, it has. Yeah, there you go. Console equals HVC0. Yeah. It's configured it correctly. Cool. So we can just run power off. But then, how are we going to boot the OS? See, this is the part I haven't got to this. I haven't even experimented with this. So what do we do now? Can we just clear that? What does that do? So this here is the installer image. If I edit, this is the thing. For some reason, I don't think you can change. So that's just you don't need to worry about any of that stuff. So devices, we've got that. What does that do? Well, we don't need that anymore, so we can just delete that. Or move down. Let's move it down. Ah. Let's just delete it. Don't care about that. It's just the installer. Okay, so that's done. Then what happens? Oh yeah, look at that. Look at that. Beauty. Look at that. Bad boy. Okay, so basically, just boot it. That's what happens. Would that work? Might do. Don't know. Oh, look at that. Oh my God, look at that. Oh, that's just, this is, oh, I can't really convey in words how excited I am about this. Probably don't sound very excited, but I'm really excited. First of all, because it's booted like in a split second. I've never seen an ARM machine boot so fast. I mean, you've seen the videos, right? And I'm like, come on, chug, 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 come on. Even on the Honeycomb LX2, I'm still like, come on, come on. And here we are, look at this, boom. I love it, look at that. That's wicked, look at that. What happens if I run Start X? It'll probably explode. I haven't got a mouse. I don't know. Oh, no, I don't have a mouse. Why not? But here's KDE. It'll probably explode. Oh my God, it actually works. What? No way. No way. It actually works. Am I dreaming or what? This can't be right. I must be, slap me. Ow. No, it actually works. And yes, you're not supposed to run desktop environments as root, but I didn't actually expect it to work. My gosh. This is wicked. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the show. As always, let's pop on the ARM Slacks podcast star 4, asset scripts, end screen. Yeah, so as ever, I hope you've enjoyed it. Give me a like and subscribe and all that stuff. And feel free to help sponsor the project. And, yeah, okay. That needs fixing. Init tab. What is it moaning about? Keyboard. Oh yeah. Okay. Well, I'll sort that out later. Cool. Yeah. Yeah. Like and subscribe and all that business. If you want to help sponsor the project, you can go to the URL there. This is really good fun. I'm enjoying this. See you later, guys. Have a good time.